and want to thank you for joining us. At Dignity of Children, we build partnerships with youth organizations and schools to teach youth the mindset of an entrepreneur. Our signature program, Ideas Empowered by Youth, is designed to prepare youth for the 21st century marketplace by teaching them how to be innovators and think like entrepreneurs. Our speaker today, Liz Wolfe, is a business coach, author, and speaker who coaches entrepreneurs to get unstuck so that they can launch and grow an abundant business. For more than 20 years, she has empowered people with her 3-part coaching system, starting with a clear vision coupled with purposeful action and removing hidden barriers to get breakthrough results for her clients. Today's talk focuses on the 3 keys of a successful business and debunks the myth to be successful in a business. You have to work really hard and be disciplined, know the right people, or have years of experience and credentials. Well, it's really great to have you all here today. And without further ado, I'm going to pass the floor to Liz Wolfe.
Hello, everyone, and welcome. And thank you so much for being here. And I am very, very excited for today's session. Dr. Toledo and I actually go back a fair way. And she and I just have so much respect for the work that she's doing. And I'm so grateful to be a part of it, to have created this incredible session that we are doing today and all of the speakers that they have. So this is just one in a series, and please show up for others as well. So as Sabrina said, I'm a coach. I live in New York City and I coach entrepreneurs. And today's talk, I want to talk about what I call the 3 keys to an abundant, successful business. So I'm going to start by sharing my screen. And we've already said welcome and said hi in the chat, so feel free to do that. I also want to remind you that some of us are visual learners and some of us are audible learners. So in case you're not aware, you can move, make the visual part of it smaller and make the people bigger. On the right, there's this way that you can split your screen. And I just recommend that you make yourself comfortable in the ways that you like to participate. And speaking of participation, this is a participatory masterclass that we're going to be doing here today. So I really want you to be not only thinking about this and receiving this information, but also being willing to participate. And that's how we stay engaged. I read or heard somewhere once a phrase that I really loved, which is, you might be here for inspiration. No, you might be here for information, or you might be here for inspiration, or you might be here for implementation. And wherever you are in that spectrum of whether you're going to take the information we talk about today and just have it as information, maybe it will inspire you, or maybe you'll actually put some things into action. And of course, that's always my goal. So we're going to dive right in. My name, again, is Liz Wolfe, and something you probably don't know about me is that I grew up on a sheep farm. I'm a former sheep farmer. And I'll start with the joke that I always start with, which is, yes, I grew up on a sheep farm. Yes, my last name is Wolfe. As you didn't make that connection. Growing up, we had a saying, "Wolf's the name, sheep's the game." That was our tagline. And not only was I a sheep farmer, not by choice, by the way. My mother bought a farm when I was about 5 years old, and she decided that we were going to be cottage industry people. And so what we started doing is making woolen items from the sheep's wool. And this actually is an actual real 1975, if you can do the math, 1975 picture of me. That's me here, my sister Jennifer, my sister Ruthann, and this woman that was working with us on the farm. I was 11 years old. And, you know, when you're 11, you know, and your mother says to you, would you like to put on a colonial outfit and go spin wool in front of people? Usually the answer is not yes. Usually the answer is, please don't make me mom. However, what she was doing was unknowingly was training me to be a future entrepreneur. And at this point in my life, I've had a business for 25 years. And what I do is I coach business people. But a lot of the work and there's an airplane going by right now. A lot of the work that I do is steeped in the concepts of abundance. And that's why we're going to be talking about having an abundant business. And here on the left, this is me. Actually, I'm about 22 or 3 years old here. Love the 80s do. What I'm doing is I'm making sheepskin slippers. That's what this is, big stack of slippers. And this was my first business. This is when I knew nothing about business. And I decided to open a store selling the items from the farm after I graduated from college. And that was my first business. And didn't do too well, to be honest. So that's when I moved to New York City, and 25 years later, I've learned a lot, and that's what I'm here to share with you today. So a bit of Wolfe family trivia here. So I always love to start with a quote to give us some context for where we are in our lives and in what the conversation that we're going to be having. And if you're not familiar with Wayne Dyer, most people know that name, but if you're not, he's a guru guy, just like the rest of them. And he has this saying that I just absolutely love. You know, abundance is not something that we acquire. It is something that we tune into. So all of the work that I do is about reframing the ideas that you have about what it takes to create abundance in your life. And if you live in this constant state of like reaching toward and trying to gather in and getting someplace, you're going to be on that hamster wheel of life, and you're never going to feel abundant. When we start from a space of abundance is something that we tune into, then we can literally just be in place in our bodies, in our space and time, and focus on the abundance that we have. And of course, today we're going to be talking about all the ways that we can be creating that. So thank you, Wayne Dyer, for that. Okay, so the 3 keys. My question is now, what we're going to immediately start with some participation. What do you think the 3 keys to a successful business and life, it's not just a business, are? So if you think about what does it take to be successful in business and life, let's do a quick jam board and get some answers and see what people think about that.
Oh, we have a lot of things coming in. Be optimistic and persistent.
An intuitive idea. Okay, I'm loving these and loving these. It's so great.
Be powerful and confident. Positive mindset. Know how to make money. Hardworking. Have a team. Absolutely. These are all really great answers.
I think we have any more? Come, oh, focus. Okay, I love this. Good organization skills and confidence in decision making. Investors.
Provide value, investors, and leadership skills. Absolutely.
Okay, know the right people. Consistency. I love this Jamboard. Oh, it's such a great tool. Such a great tool.
Absolutely.
Okay, well, you're welcome to keep adding them, but I want to point out some trends here that I see in this board. So first of all, I see lots about money, know how to make money, investors. That's a group, that's an area. I see have a goal, have an intuitive idea, and have faith, trust your gut, consistency. Okay, so there's sort of that grouping. And then there's the other grouping, hardworking, focus. So there's that. Then we got the know the right people. That's a big one. Have a goal, have a team, and know the right people. So leadership skills, that's all people focused. Okay, so I love that we did that exercise, because this is what I often hear from people that they think are the 3 keys. Number 1, know the right people. Somebody even put that up on the Jamboard. Get to know the right people. Number 2, work hard, discipline, time management, focus. Go back and on my side and see, yeah, focus, have a goal, okay? Probably a bad idea to do that. Okay, and the third one is nobody really mentioned this, but I hear this a lot as adults and or even as a student. You're going to hear from people, yeah, you need to have credentials, and you go to school, you get a good education, you get some experience, and then you will have a good job. I'm going through this right now with my 21-year-old son. He is just had an interview, as a matter of fact, for an internship. I'm like, you got to get that in there. Nobody's going to hire you unless you have that experience. Okay, so when you look at these 3 areas, and if we were to go back to the Jamboard, you'll see that I've distilled it down into these 3, but there could certainly be other ones. Another one I would say that a lot of people say is you have to have money to make money, and you have to have investors, and those are key. So, however, I'm going to challenge that these are the keys, and I'm going to call these the 3 myths. And what I mean by that is that we're sold a bill of goods all the time. Yes, you got to do these. You got to work really hard. You got to get to know the right people. That's why we spend hours at networking events, and we go to all these credentialing things, and we yell at ourselves when we're not being disciplined, etc. So I'd like you to think of these things as what I call tools in your entrepreneurial toolbox. I work very hard. I'm going to tell you, after I'm done with this, I have another client call at 6:30. I'm probably going to work for another hour after that. Okay. I work very hard. I do my best to manage my time. I have a lot of experience, and certainly I spend a lot of time hanging around with as many people as I can. But the problem with having these be the qualifiers that get you to a place of a successful business is they're all what I call an as soon as conversation. As soon as I know the right people, as soon as I figure out how to manage my time. Anybody on this call not do a great job of managing your time? You procrastinate. Okay. As soon as I have the credentials or education or experience. So as soon as you have all those things. Now, again, if you think of these like something that's in your entrepreneurial toolbox, then they will help you. But I don't want you to get stuck over here on this side of, well, I don't know the right people yet. I'm not very good at managing my time. By the way, I'd like to take a day off once in a while. I don't want to feel like I have to work 24/7. Okay. And that's kind of the myth, right? Those are the really successful people. They work 40 hours a day or whatever. So instead, I'm going to introduce what I have developed and used and seen and learned are the 3 keys. And the first key is to ask powerfully. So this woman, Shakti Gawain, I found this quote. She said, "You create your opportunities by asking for them." So do you see the difference between the idea that you're going to go out and find your opportunity because you're going to go to enough networking events and you're going to meet enough people, versus the opposite, which is that you're going to actually create your opportunities by asking for them. And I'm going to tell you a little bit more about what I mean by asking powerfully. But before I go into that in more detail, I want you to think about how, just ask yourself the question, since we're asking right now, is asking within your realm of control? Is it up to you? You can ask anytime that you want, right? If you believe it's in your realm of control, you can just put a yes into the chat. So do you see how the chance meeting of somebody, or the I'm tired today and I don't have the discipline I need, could slow you down, whereas taking on that you have the power to ask for what you want when you want is available. It's like a super tool in your toolbox. So, what is the most impactful way to get what you want? What's the most direct way to get what you want? I think I'm going to change the word in the next time that I do this presentation. What is the most direct way to get what I want? Well, if I want my husband to help me with something, I'm going to get up out of the chair. I'm going to walk over there. I'm going to say, honey, can you help me with something? And he'll say yes or no, but probably he'll say yes. And if he says no, I'll say, okay, but when can you help me? And then he comes back and he helps me, and then he goes away again. Okay. If I sat here and said, honey, really wish you had known. Couldn't you hear me struggling in the other room? I really, really wish that you had just come in and just given me some help. Okay. We literally get mad at people because they don't help us, even though we didn't ask for help. Like, that's a thing we do. It's kind of funny. So ask for what you want. It's the most direct, impactful way to get what you want. Now, that's super simple, but it's actually not necessarily easy. So now I want to open up the question to you, and you can, I think we said we were just going to put this in the chat, and or you can unmute. I would love it if somebody will unmute and share with me. I want you to think about yourself and your experience out in the world asking for what you want. So in order to give you a little scenario here, how hard is it for you to, let's say, ask for help? How hard is it for you to ask exactly what you want for your birthday? How hard is it for you to ask somebody for money? How hard is it to ask someone to apologize, or to give you money that they owe you, things like that? So why would those things be hard to ask? So you got to think for yourself in an area where it's hard for you. And I would love to hear why it's hard for you, when it's hard for you, and why it's hard for you to ask. Either put it in the chat, or you could just unmute. Might be easiest just to do that. Okay, so Dr. Toledo said, I don't believe I can get it. And Anna said, I don't want to be a burden. Okay, so if I ask somebody for a favor, in fact, I literally just had this a minute ago. I wanted some more water. And my daughter was upstairs, and I said to myself, I'm going to say, honey, could you do me a favor? And then I thought, wait, what? Why is it a favor? It's not a favor. I'm just asking for some water. Right? So is it that hard for her to come downstairs and get my cup and put that in? So sometimes it's hard to ask for it when you don't even believe that you can get it. Sometimes we dumb down the things that we ask for because we want to ask for things we're sure we can get. So you may have other reasons as well. There are two reasons very specifically that I have seen repeatedly that people do not ask, and why it's hard. And of course, the biggest one is we don't like to be rejected. We fear rejection. We don't want people to say no to us. And so if we ask someone, it's not that pleasant to ask someone to either help or to go out on a date or to be our client and have them say no. Now, this is a very historical, like literally, and I mean, not just human historical, I mean, cultural historical, that human beings, when they're rejected by their tribes, would often die. So this is deep-seated in us, survival. We fear rejection. So we don't ask. And so sometimes we try to get them to guess, or we just hem and haw and we go around. Exactly, because rejection may also make us question our worth, which is the next thing. Reason that we don't ask is we believe we're not worthy of receiving what it is that we want. And this is a complicated one for me, very complicated. And I'm going to tell you why. There's a lot of spiritual teachers out there that work with you in building up your belief in yourself. And so that you're worthy, that you feel worthy. And in fact, sometimes they have you do an exercise where you stand in front of a mirror and you say, I am worthy. And you say it with confidence. I am worthy. I am worthy. And I deserve, we sometimes justify what we want because we say, well, I deserve it. And so we end up needing to justify it because we deserve something or because we feel that we're worthy. If it makes you feel better to do that, to stand in front of a mirror, don't let me talk you out of it. I'm just letting you know that if you don't have something, it's because you didn't ask for it, not because you're worthy or not worthy. In fact, I'm sure that with more time together, we could all come up with examples of people that we see that are very successful that we don't think are worth it or don't think deserve it. So why do they have it and we don't, or, where that is. So let's take the idea of creating abundance because you're worthy. Let's just take it out of the picture and let's just assume that we're all allowed to have whatever we want, whenever we want. You have full permission. Liz Wolfe has now given you full permission for the rest of your life to ask for whatever you want, whenever you want. And the answer will be yes or no, right? So you're just allowed to ask for what you want. And that brings me to the next point, which is when I say to ask powerfully, if you want to increase the odds of getting what you want, be specific. Be specific. Okay. And there's two reasons I have the birthday cake on this particular screen. And the first reason is because the funny thing about us as humans is when we have birthday parties for our kids, we put birthday candles on it and then we light them and we say, what do we say? We say, make a wish. And then we say, and if you blow out the candles, the wish will come true, which is the dopiest thing anyone ever told anybody, because obviously it takes more than just making a wish and blowing out the candles to make it come true. But the real problem is we tell people that they cannot say what the wish is, because if they say what the wish is, it won't come true. And that is exactly the opposite of what we need to be teaching our children and doing culturally. You have to ask for what you want. If you've ever been disappointed on a birthday, I'm using birthdays as a generic thing because everybody has them. If you've ever been disappointed in something that you received for your birthday, you may have thought that the person knew what you wanted, but didn't give it to you. And you may want to look back and examine how you weren't specific. When it comes around time for birthday, you know what I do? I get on Amazon and I find the very thing I want and I find the link and I send it to my husband and I say, I would like to have this, please. And truthfully, he doesn't always buy it for me because I already own 5 ukuleles. So he may not want to buy me another ukulele, which I think is what I asked for last year. And I understand that. But most of the time, I just say, this is what I want. And that's very specific. And therefore, I'm much more likely to get it. And I've had people say, well, that's not very romantic. And I'm like, I'm not interested in romance. I'm interested in getting what I want for my birthday. And then he could take me out later and that could be romantic. I don't care about that part. So I want you to be specific and you really, and this is very important as you're building your vision for your business and your life, for you to be specific. Don't just say, I want a lot of money, or don't say I want more money. That's a lot of people say that. I want more money. I'm like, well, $5 is more money. Is that what you want? And they're like, no, I meant like $10,000. Okay, well, don't say more money, say $10,000. So it really works to be specific. Okay. If you have any questions, put them in the chat. We are going to have a chance to have a little Q&A later, but if there's anything specific that you don't understand here, of course, ask me. Okay, so now we have asked for what we want, and now we are ready to fill in the blank. What do you think the second key is? Go ahead and put that in the chat. What do you think the second key is? And by the way, Jovan, I saw what you said about I'm afraid it won't be done the way I want. Yes, but that's a fear-based conversation. I'm just letting you know, fear-based, fear-based. Okay, who knows what the second key is? Put in the chat. Somebody who didn't hear the answer earlier that was on the phone with me earlier. Anybody have any guesses? We're counting on you, Kelly, Angelica, Anna, and Marina, because you weren't on the call earlier. Anybody have any ideas? First I ask, and then well, this is not hard, friends. Make a plan. Okay, no. Okay, good. Thank you, Kelly. No, I was looking for a slightly more direct. Yeah. Okay, that's the action. So where I was fishing for, without any bait, evidently, because I didn't catch anything, is most people think that after you ask for what you want, the next step is to receive. Okay, that's the magic answer. Sometimes when I'm doing trainings, I have hangman. I do hangman on the board, and it's a lot of fun. Okay, so normally people would say, first is I ask, second I receive, but actually the second key is not to receive. The second key is to give wholeheartedly. As Deepak Chopra said, the easiest way to get what you want is to give what you want. Okay, so why is giving the second step or the second key? Because normally you would think, okay, I asked for it, now I'm ready to receive it. But what I want you to think about is when you have asked for something, that is to say and Kelly, definitely, like, asking is out also about making a plan and having a goal. This session is not long enough, but as you heard from the very beginning, having a vision is very important. So when you have a goal or a vision, that's the asking. I want $10,000. That's the goal. Now, how do I get there? Well, I have to create the space for it. So we've confused abundance with hoarding. Hoarding and abundance are not the same thing, okay? Because people that hoard do not live abundantly. What we're actually doing is we're creating space, and abundance is the willingness to release. So what you're going to do is you're going to actually give what you want to receive. I'm going to tell you a very quick, one of my favorite stories to tell you about giving, and it's actually why I have Habitat for Humanity in this picture. When I was buying my house, which I live in Hamilton Heights in Harlem in New York City, when I was buying this house, it's a townhouse, and we bought it so that we could work and live in the same place. It was very difficult because the woman that we were buying it from would not sign the contract. And I don't know how many of you have bought houses, but that's kind of an important part of the process. You have to sign a contract to say, I'm going to buy it at this price, etc. For a month, she wouldn't sign this contract. And one day, my sister called me up and she said, Liz, actually, she said Lizzie, because that's what they call me. But she said, Liz, I figured it out. I know what you need to do to get this house. I was like, please, just tell me the answer. This is crazy. She said, give house. And I said, duh, I've been expecting to receive, and I skipped over the give part. And I went online and I went up to Habitat for Humanity. And if you're not familiar with that organization, it's an organization that actually builds houses. So I donated $100 to Habitat for Humanity. And so I literally created more house in the universe. And 1 hour later, and this is not, I did not make this up, 1 hour later, we had a signed contract. And it was Friday at like 4 o'clock. I just thought it was never going to happen. And this is in the days of the fax machine. The fax machine just started going off. It just started, and it was the contract. Well, let me tell you this, I was all about giving house after that. I was helping my mother-in-law do garage sales. I was helping my husband's grandfather clean out his house. I was giving house anywhere that I could. And it really worked because all I was doing was generating more space for house in the world. And, you know, we bought the house in 2009 and we've been here ever since. So it really works. It really, really does work. So now some people say, you know, well, okay, but I'm not trying to buy a house, or I don't have $100 to give to Habitat for Humanity, et cetera. So some people might not know how to start giving. So I want you to really think of this in a very broad way. Like, let's do some brainstorming. We're going to use another Jamboard. Everybody personally think, this is everybody on the call, personally think, okay, how can I create more of what I want in the world? More of what that is. I'm going to stop my share so you can do your share.
So we're going to go ahead and take it to the Jamboard, and I'm going to drop the link of the Jamboard in the chat once again for anyone who just joined us. And we are writing in, what can you give?
Yeah, so if you want money, could you give money? You can give time, you can give away old shoes, you know, like what can you do to create the space of abundance? And for many of us, this can also be like resentments. It can also be old ideas. It can be great. You could give knowledge. Absolutely. You could give time. Definitely. I know everybody's busy typing. Oh, you know, can you imagine if you had every article of clothing in your closet that you'd had since you were the age of 10, what that closet would look like? Would that be at all abundant? It would not. It would not. You wouldn't fit into most of them. It wouldn't. Okay, clothes, love, kindness.
We also have in the chat from Dr. Toledo saying a listening ear.
A listening ear. Furniture, clothes. Okay, and let's think about things like this is a challenge. I like to call these challenges. So this is a challenge. Like, is there some resentment that you're holding on to? Is there somebody you're mad at? Is there some way you're, you have even a personal regret? Is there something that you would like to let go of and no longer have as an identity? For some of us, it could literally be, I want to give up the identity of someone who doesn't have money. You know, that's another thing that you could give away. Empathy, time, clothes, furniture, a smile. When I was a kid, I experimented one day of just smiling at everybody that I saw. I don't know what gave me the idea, but I just decided to, and everybody was so nice to me. I don't know why I gave that up. Like, I do smile at people now, but it was this most amazing day where people just smiled back at me. Okay, share my skills, empathy, knowledge. Yeah, look at all these things that we could be giving that's literally creating abundance in the world. Lack of patience. Imagine what would be possible if you could give up not being patient with people that are probably very important to you. I don't know if you've ever listened to any Eckhart Tolle. He's the Power of Now guy. And he said, people always say to me, I'm so patient. He said, actually, I'm just in the moment with people. It was very powerful. I thought it was really interesting. So look at all these things that we can be giving away. Let it go, any kind of upset that you have. But also, if you're in business and you want to create more business, you can actually help other people get clients. So if you want to, you can. So don't trade your work. I definitely do not recommend doing that. But I would definitely say that if you were willing to give of your time and energy in support of someone else. Absolutely. Okay, giving up complaining. Think of all the freedom you would have in your life. And Dr. Toledo has been to this workshop that I do. It's like a whole weekend workshop that I've done called the Abundance Breakthrough Course. And we have a lot of fun. I don't know if it's fun because there's sometimes a little crying, but there's this space where you really recognize the power of the things that you are holding on to and tolerating and how they slow you down. And once we let them go, there's so much freedom. So giving is the next step. So let's go back to my presentation now. I'm going to get through the all. There we go. Okay. So thank you for those ideas. You can just literally throw something, recycle, whatever, let it go. It's what I love Craigslist for. Okay, finally, we've come to the third key, which is to receive graciously. And here's a really famous quote by Liz Wolfe: without receiving, there can be no giving. So, the thing that drives me the most crazy is when people say it's better to give than receive.
Share your screen.
Oh, excuse me. Thank you. Thought I did. That's weird.
We
Okay.
also have from someone in the chat, Javon says, would you say a great motto to create successful business is build a community?
Building a community. Well, I'm not sure what you mean by motto. A great something, because I think of motto like a saying. Do you mean like something to live by, like a value to live by? I think that's maybe what you mean. Community, very important. And how do you create community? You create relationship. How do you create relationship? You give wholeheartedly. People want to be around people who are open, and they also want to both give and receive. So this is something really important for us to take away from this conversation. They say, what's your takeaway from this? If you took away only one thing from this, and hopefully there's more than that, it is to know this: without receiving, there can be no giving. So it cannot possibly be better to give than receive, because they are absolutely equal energy. Have you ever tried to give someone a gift and they said, oh, you shouldn't have, or you try to give them a compliment, they're like, oh God, this old dress, or this they cut it too short, whatever, right? We're not receiving graciously. And because of that, it's very hard to give. I just had this experience the other day. I went out to lunch with an old friend, and I picked up the tab and she was like, no. You know what I said? I said, receive graciously, because I can say that because she's my friend and she knows the work that I do. I was like, let me pay, crying out loud. Okay. So now here's the tricky thing about receiving, is that we say we want to receive. I'm ready. I want $1 million. I want to win the lottery. I want clients. But what happens is there's a lot of resistance. Here's how we really receive. We receive like this. Wait, show it to me. Am I sure I want it? I'm not sure I want it. Wait, what is it? That's how we receive. We don't receive like, sure, bring it on. And you will immediately experience, like, let's just take the example of a compliment. I'm a singer and I have a good singing voice. And when I just love when people can hear me sing. I sing in various groups and they say, wow, you really have a beautiful voice. And you know what I say? I say, thank you. And they're so happy that I said, thank you, because I'm receiving what they're giving to me. So this is a huge place for you to look for on how to receive abundance in your life. You have as much abundance in your life as you have received. So if you're a little bit wanting more abundance or upset that you don't have more abundance, you didn't receive it. It's there for you. Abundance is not what we acquire. It is what we tune into. So you have to ask yourself, what is your context of receiving? And I want to make sure that we're all on the same page when I'm talking about context. So context means the environment in which context essentially means what the environment is. So there's a saying, ferns do not grow in the desert, because ferns require shade and a lot of water. They don't grow in the desert. Cactuses do not grow in the forest because they require a lot of sun and very dry conditions. So if you are like me and you have plants in your house and you don't water them, which is kind of often, and you go and look and it's starting to wilt, and you look at the soil and you poke at it a little bit, you'll see that it's all dried out. And if you took water and poured it into that plant, the water is going to run right out, because the soil is not an environment or a context that will absorb the water. The same thing is, it's kind of funny, like of a sponge. Like if you ever spill something and you pick up a sponge to wipe it up and it's completely dry, it will not pick up the water. But if you wet it a little bit, it picks up the water. Anybody here who ever says they wanted to win the lottery? If you ever wanted to win the lottery, you can just put yes in the chat if you ever wanted to win the lottery. Yeah, I want to win the lottery too. And guess what? 95 or more % of the people that have won money in the lottery are bankrupt because of that. Why? Because they were not a context of receiving. The money just ran right out. So I want you to win the lottery, but I want you to have a context of receiving before you win the lottery, okay? Because that soil needs to be moist. And so the way to get that way is to practice receiving graciously. I have a personal policy. If anyone offers me money, I say, yes, I receive it. Like if I'm driving somebody somewhere and they offer me $10 for gas, I say, thank you. And I receive the money. You know why? Because I would like to have more money. And so why would I say no to money? It's coming to me. I want to acknowledge it. I don't want it to like bump up against me and, go away. There's so many places that this can apply if you just relax into receiving. If you don't want what you've received shortly after, you can let it go. That's the giving part. Okay. So does anybody have any questions about this? Earlier, we were talking about context, and I want to use the demonstration that I was using earlier, which is to make sure we're understanding that, which is context being the environment, right? If I hold up a single finger, hopefully you can see that. If I hold up one finger and I say, what is this in the context of numbers? You say, oh, that's a 1. If I say, what is this in the context of direction? You say, that's up. What is this in the context of time? Wait. And I'm sure there's more we could come up with. I'm sure there's other ones. So the context that we are is very important around creating abundance. Now, notice I've done the 3 keys, and none of them have to do with anybody else but me. I don't have to know anybody. I don't have to even work hard. I don't even have to work hard. I could just ask. You know what? You could cut your work in half if you just ask more for more help, for instance. Okay. Now, key number 3 has 2 parts, actually. And the second part of receive graciously, I just collapse it into 1, but actually I break it into 2, which is the gratitude. Graciously is gratitude. I have a little mantra that I say, which is when somebody gives me something, I'll say, thank you. I receive that graciously and gratefully. And the relief that comes over people's faces when I receive is just wonderful. So it's a grateful mind that's a great mind that eventually attracts itself into great things. So gratitude is a big part of the receiving. It's like 1, 2, 1, 2. Now, I want to point out, though, that gratitude does not require any prerequisites. You can just be grateful. Literally, you can just sit in your chair right now and be grateful and just experience gratitude. So you don't actually even need to have any prerequisites. So the 3 parts are this, steps to abundance: ask powerfully, give wholeheartedly, and receive graciously. And here's all the pictures of the fun things we're doing: families and businesses and dogs on beaches and money, lots of $100 bills. But actually, it's not so much that it's steps, but that it's a circle. And the reason I want you to think of it this way is because you can start the flow of abundance in your life anywhere in this cycle. In other words, if you're not sure what you want, you can give. You can be like, you know what? I don't know how to get started today, but let me clear off my desk. Let me clean off my desk. Or you could send a thank you note to somebody. There's a really great book called 365 Days of Gratitude. And that's what he did. This man wrote a thank you note for every day for 365 days and turned his whole life around. Of course, he wrote a book, it was best-selling, and now it really turned his life around. But you can start, you can ask, you can give, you can receive, or you could just write a gratitude list, and it is a circle. Okay, so here we are at the point where I would love if there are any questions, any comments, anything that discussion you would like to have. I am ready, willing, and able to answer your question. And Giovanna, one of the questions might be the one that I'm not sure I really answered, which is about the building a community. So whatever questions you have. I could stop the share too, so we can kind of see each other a little better. Questions, comments, anything you heard today that's of interest, that's maybe a reframe for you? I would love to hear that.
Liz, you definitely answered my question and everything that you were saying. I meant to say, instead of a motto, a business practice, and building a community. And I think that you basically touched on that. Everything you say is basically how you build a community. And so thank you for that. This was really insightful.
Yeah, you're welcome. You're welcome, for sure. Thank you.
So Liz, I so enjoy this workshop. I had so much fun. I have to say, first of all, taking your workshop for a weekend really had me go through a whole complete process. And I think it was, I don't remember how long ago it was, but at least 3 to 4 years ago. And I was struggling. With my business because, I wanted to find the right answers, right? And I was doing all of those other things we talked about earlier about, getting the right people, knowing what you want, getting my credential, which would be my PhD, all of that stuff I was doing. Yeah. And I have to say, even my staff now says to me, I don't know how you do it, but you figure out how to bring more money into this. I'm receiving.
There you go.
I am receiving. Sometimes I don't even know where it's going to come from.
Right.
Boop, it shows up. And it's that practice of letting go that was the most, of giving and letting go, giving up, all of that stuff was the main thing for me, in growth. So our young people who are listening to us now are saying, oh, these people are woo-woo, what are they talking about? Tell me, some real concreteness for them that helps them understand this is a lifestyle.
Yes, absolutely. Yeah, if everybody in the world was asking for what they wanted, sharing generously, and receiving with gratitude, just your own life experience shifts completely.
Mm-hmm.
It's like starting a car and then putting it in gear. That's really how it, you can look at a car through a showcase window. You can even go sit in the car. You can, rub your hands on the steel, right? But until you start that car and start driving it, nothing is happening here. So this is all within your power. And I think especially for young people, because, I'm not that old. So especially for young people, there's so much at stake around your life circumstances, which is why we so encourage, like, why else was I on my kid's butt about being prepared for this job interview he had today? Get that internship, right? Because we want you to have an experience of power in your life. And unfortunately, though, when we're so prone to the circumstances around us, that takes away our powers. We always say, like, big circumstance, little tiny you. And that's how we do that with time.
Mm-hmm.
Time is a circumstance. Time isn't actually real. Just want everybody to know. Time is a circumstance, but it's a really big circumstance. Mm-hmm. And it's one we all agree with. In New York City, we all agree with the circumstance called the trains. The trains are late.
I'm late because of the trains.
I'm late. What? And you know what everybody else says? They go, "Oh yeah, I heard that. Yeah, I'm on that app that tells you." And this mess on the B train. You know what I say? There was $1 million under your seat to get there on time.
Yeah.
Or the only 5 minutes you're going to see your long lost Aunt Mary one more time. 5 minutes between 8:55 and 9. Are you at work on time? Yeah, you're at work on time. Okay. But we don't operate that way. So, that's why all of these things, the asking, giving, and receiving, are all what you have the power to do within your control. No circumstances will control that for you. And if you can go big me, little circumstance, then the power is now in your self, in your court, to create what you want.
That's very powerful, because when that image that you just said about big me and little circumstances, is that I'm greater than my circumstances, and I believe in myself, and believing in yourself and what you want. The other thing too, when you said acts, is like, be clear on what you want. Like, I just want money. It's like, well, for years I've been saying I want to have enough money to pay payroll. That's exactly what's been happening. So now acts bigger, right?
Okay, that's a great example.
Exactly.
Because you think, okay, I need, we use the word need, I need or want, and I need to cover payroll. Yeah. And that's what I call even Steven. You'll have exactly as much to pay for payroll, and miraculously it will show up and you'll get payroll. And then you're like, and then you don't have any more after. You got to do that. Who wants to do that month after month after month? You don't want to do that a month after. You know what? I have plenty of money to do whatever I want, whenever I want. Mm-hmm. That's right. That's where I live. But the universe just, what the universe is doing? The universe is sitting there going, well, what do you want? Could you just tell me what you want? Just send me more money. All right. Do you want to find $1 on the street? I mean, what, I'll send you $1. No. I want my business to make $100,000 next year, whatever it is.
And some of the things, just for takeaways for the young people who are on this call, just if you want to start focusing on being clear on what you want, vision boards, journaling, these are practices that will help you start clearing your mind and beginning to start like envisioning exactly what you want. And it could be tomorrow, it could be, a year from now, it could be 5 years from now, but write it all down.
Yeah, you have to think of it like this. When you go online and you order something, you're asking for something very specific. You don't go onto Amazon and say, send me a pair of shoes. Send me a pair of brown shoes. Like, you don't say that. You say, send me this pair and this size, etc.
This brand.
This brand. Okay. That costs this much. Then you order it. And then now, would you immediately run to the door and be like, where is it? Where is it? Where is it? No, you know that if you have Amazon Prime, it's going to come in a couple of days. Sometimes it's an hour later, but it's not there right away. But then we go like, I ordered it 10 minutes ago and it's not here yet. Where's my money? Where's my money? Where's my money? That's not how we know that. That's not how it really works. So you just said, what sparked me to say that is, when writing it down, we don't know when it's going to come. And we actually don't know in what form it's going to come. So that's the receiving part. You have to really be thinking about, it may not look exactly the way I expected. And, or it may, like, one of my clients used to say, yeah, I don't want a client like that. Well, what do you want? Yeah, well, I know I don't want a client like that. Guess what the universe hears? Client like that, client like that, client like that, client like that. So we kept getting clients like that. So we're asking for what we want and we're very specific about it. And then now the universe says, oh, I know what you want.
Yes. This is some amazing insight today, and really great way to live life, period. And everything, business, school, family, all of it. So let's give Liz some love on the chat and let her know what you're taking away from today before we close. And I'm so excited, and we can't wait to have you back.
Yes. Thank you. Thank you. This is really great. I just being able to talk about these things with people is really important. And I think it's just take it away and just put it into practice. Just try asking specifically. Do that for 1 week. Just ask for what you want.
Well, I'm definitely taking away ask powerfully. Yes. Thank you, Liz.
Okay.
Be specific when you're asking for what you want is my biggest takeaway. Give away what you want. I love that. That's right. Give away what you want. And, kindness, love, listening ear, those are really simple things that we could give away. Awesome.
Yeah. And I wish you very many birthday gifts of exactly what you want. And in my world, those are more ukuleles. So we'll hopefully get some more of those. So thank you very much, everyone.
Thank you, everyone. Thank you so much for being here.
Thanks, Kelly.
Kelly, it was so great to see you. Awesome.
Yes, great to see you. Thank you. That was very fun. I enjoyed it.
That was fun. Yeah.